Powers and exponents. 8 to the second power, or squared. Now, that would be called squared because if I were to draw a square or a two-dimensional object, and I were to say the base was 8 inches, then the height would also be 8 inches. And the base times the height equals the area. So 8 times 8 would be the area, which is 64. Say it was in inches, it would be inches squared. So we call this squared because this number right here could represent the base and the height of a square. Now, this large number 8 is called your base number. And the smaller number up here, the 2, is called your exponent. The base number is the number being multiplied. The exponent tells you how many times you're going to multiply the base number. Together, the base and the exponent are called a power. So, 8 multiplied by itself 2 times is 64. So 8 squared is the power of 64. 8 squared is equal to 64. So 64 can also be called a power. Because this product and the base and exponent together, these guys are equal right here, 8 squared and 64. Now I'm going to pull out my superhero. My superhero has the power of 64, and her nemesis minions have to be equal in power to try to defeat her. So when they come together, they multiply in power. 8 times 8 is equal to 64, and it takes 2 minions to equal her power. Now let's look at some of these definitions. First, we're going to start with a base number, which would be the large number 8. The base number is the large number being multiplied. Next, we're going to look at exponent. The exponent is the small number that tells how many times the base number is being multiplied. And then the power. The power is the product or the base number and exponent written together. So the power is the product, here the 64, or the base number and the exponent written together, 8 squared, because the two are equivalent. Examples. Here we have 2 to the 5th power. Our base number is 2. 2 will be multiplied 5 times. So in this case, we're going to multiply 2 times 2, and here's our minions, each with the power of 2, and when they come together, their power multiplies. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 more is 32. And our superhero has the power of 32, and it would take 5 minions to equal her power, 2 to the 5th power. In this example, we have 5 to the 3rd power. 5 is being multiplied 3 times. So we're going to have 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25, 25 times 5 is 125, and in this case our superhero has the power of 125. It would take 3 minions with the power of times 5 to be equal to her power. So 5 to the 3rd power, or 5 cubed, is equivalent to 125. Now, this is called 5 cubed also because if I were to draw a cube, which would have a height, a width, and a depth. It is a 3-dimensional figure. So let's say that the height is 5 feet. Then in this case, I would multiply 5 times 5 times 5 to find the area of this cube, which would be 125 feet. Cubed. All right, next we have 3, and we don't have the exponent. It's missing, so we've got to figure out what the exponent's going to be. But we were told what the power is, what the product is going to be when we multiply the 3. So our superhero in this case has the power of 81. So 3 multiplied by itself how many times will give us 81? Well, the minions to fight our superhero have to be equal in power. 3 times 3 is 9. They're not equal yet. Times 3 is 27. Still not equal yet. The superhero can overpower the minions. But times 3 is 81. So now the minions are equal in power to our superhero. So it took 4 minions with the power of 3. So 3 to the 4th power. So 4 should be our exponent in this case. What if my base number is a negative number? What do I do? Well, let's take a look at some examples. Example number 1. If I have a negative 5 in parentheses cubed, that means that I'm going to multiply negative 5 times itself 3 times. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, and a positive times a negative is a negative. So my answer is going to be negative, and I'm just going to multiply like normal. 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125. My second example, I have negative 5 squared. Again, I'm just going to multiply negative 5 2 times. Negative 5 times negative 5. Well, 5 times 5 is 25. a number there. 5 times 5 is 25, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So this would just be a positive 25 for our answer in this case. And when a number's positive, you don't have to put a positive sign on it. You can just leave it without a sign in front of it, and that means it's positive. Now, you need the parentheses around the negative 5 in order to multiply negative numbers. If I want it to multiply negative 5 each time, I have to have parentheses around it. Now let's look at what happens if the parentheses are not there. Here's another example. Same example I used up top, except no parentheses around the negative 5. Well, without parentheses, what happens is I'm going to multiply just a 5. 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. And I'm just simply going to bring the negative sign over into my answer. Now in this case, these two answers happen to be the same, the one up top and the one on the bottom. But in this case, negative 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25, and I'm going to bring the negative sign over. Since the parentheses was not around the negative 5, I did not multiply a negative 5 times a negative 5. I only multiplied the 5s, which is 25, and I simply carry over my negative sign when there's no parentheses here. So this answer is a negative 25. And I'm going to circle it like I did up top. Now, so when you have no parentheses, you multiply the base and you add a negative sign on the product. And on this page, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try out number 1 through 5. Now number 4 and 5 say to write in exponential form. That means write using an exponent. You don't have to give the product in those two scenarios. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay, let's try this out. Negative 4 squared means 4 times 4, which is 16. And I'm just going to simply bring the negative sign over. Since the negative 4 was not in parentheses, I did not multiply by a negative 4. Number 2, 6 to the 3rd power. 6 to the 3rd power is 6 times 6 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36, and 36 times 6 is 216. So the power here is 216. Number 3, 9 to the 4th power. 9 times 9 times 9 times 9 equals 9 times 9 is 81. 81 times 9 is 729. And 729 times 9 is 6,561. Write in exponential form. Negative 7 times negative 7 times negative 7. Since the 7s are negative, and I'm multiplying a negative times a negative times a negative, I know that the negative 7 must have been inside of parentheses. And there's 3 negative 7s, so it must be negative 7 cubed. Number 5, the last one. It also says write in exponential form. And in the picture, I have a cube. The cube is 2 inches in length here. And so since a cube has the same height, length, and depth, this cube, written in exponential form, must be 2 cubed, or 2 to the third power.